community of well being and supernatural. If you're here today, you care about your overall well being and you want to see how that expands your spiritual state of being, how that expands your abilities and connecting with the unseen, right? And seeing your very best self, your godliness, right? So today let's talk about mindfulness. Let's talk about self mastery, which starts with the mind. And this brings me to the meaning of yoga and a yoga sutra. So, the meaning and goal of yoga in its purest form is to acquire unity within, because yoga means unity or equally yoked. So, for your mind, your body, your spirit to be in sync and aligned and balanced. And from that state, you can expand consciousness, you can heal yourself at will, you can repel things that you don't want into your life, and you can have control over your state of being, right? So, the most important Yoga Sutra, as stated by Patanjali, who gave the Yoga Sutras to humanity, um, in this sacred text, he talks about the restraint of the modification of the mind stuff is how you get unity, how you get equally yoked within. What does that mean? That means being able to control your mind going from a state of stillness to continuously modifying, continuously changing, continually going left and right and up and down and thinking this and thinking that. Scatterbrain, right? Not focused, not aware, not taking your space of channeling information or utilizing your imagination to execution, right? So let's talk about that. This is the most important sutra or sacred text within this ideology or philosophy. I'll say philosophy, yoga philosophy, because all the other sutras or sacred texts is to support getting to this point. So the mind within this philosophy is broken down into three parts: desire, intellect, and ego. How do they play together, and how do you practice for mastery, right? Somebody doing construction next door. Okay, so let me make sure you guys can hear me because you got to hear this stuff. So, first, you have the part of your mind of desire. So, how does this work in everyday life? The desire aspect of the mind is your senses. It's which is attracted, which you're attracting into your life from your senses that pull you out of state of stillness. So if you're meditating, if you're focusing on a project, if you're doing anything that causes for focus, clarity, awareness in a space, and then your senses activate something else. For example, if you're sitting there and you're trying to meditate, and then you smell something, and it's like, ooh, what's that? Right? First, the desire has set in. Your senses have been activated. That's one part of the mind. The second part is the intellect. The intellect will start to weigh out the information and the data to answer that question from your senses and desire, to start to um, differentiate what it may or may not be, and however then to go on to how it relates to you, which is the ego, right? So, for example, say you meditating or you focused on something, and then you smell something. It's like, oh, what's that? Desire. And then intellect says, oh, that's cake. And to be specific, it's that strawberry cake that grandma used to make when I was little. And I like that cake. I love that cake. I love. Now you in the ego. The ego is the representation of you in a scenario, in a scene. The mind is now in the ego, placing you specifically into a situation, right? So now you're in the ego because now you're like, I want, I like, I love, because your mind weighed it out, went through the memory bank, and said that is this cake, this type of cake. It tastes like this. You have this response to it. And then the ego was like, yeah, I like that. I think I'm going to go get me some cake. And then you go focusing in on getting some cake. Your phone rings. So now that's hearing. That's another desire. That's another aspect of that part of your brain. So while you're getting cake, you can slow down the process of even getting cake and meditating or whatever you were working on before you smelt the cake. That's completely out of your mind right now, because now your phone is calling and it's somebody you ain't talked to in a while, or somebody that gives you an emotional rise. So now that's touch, that's feeling, that's a desire. Now you weighing that out. This is such and such. My phone ring. Who is it? Oh, intellect. It's such and such. Oh, they probably want this. They make me feel like this. Ego. I'm going to answer that phone call because of blanky blank. Now you did two other tasks and modifications and went through all of these directions outside of your focus centered space of being. So in order to master your life, you have to master your mind, and is in the continuous modifications, especially in a time of this technological rise, because you can easily death scroll. You can be going online to follow up with somebody or get somebody's information that sent you a DM a while back, so you can invite them to something or get a number, and you end up death scrolling. Sight. Now now that took it, and now that's the intellect going. Now your whole focus is there. So yoga, the practice of yoga is stillness. I know people say, oh, the positions, the asanas, the this and that. The positions help you create mental clarity, ease up blockages and energetic blockages in your body, stretch out areas of your body so you don't have pain and stiffness. So it's easier for you to sit still. And it's in the stillness that mastery happens. Because if you can get past all your senses being activated, a bug flew by and touched you on the face. Did you scream or did you let it zip and fly away? Your phone rang. Somebody's outside talking. Somebody's trying to get your attention. I remember Master Teacher, I was watching something that Master Teacher, Dr. Mitchell Gibson, was speaking about. And he talked about as a young child, as he was practicing the astral project and then have that be his mastery, how he shared a room with his little brother, and his little brother would be throwing stuff at him and picking at him. And he had to sit in his meditation unmoved. And he was able to master stepping outside of his body and existing within planes. The direct method. That takes time, that takes patience, that takes mental control to be able to restrain and be aware of the ripples of your mind. Go through the process without being ruled by it, without being ruled by your senses and your desires, but acknowledge them, understand them, and decide when to move, when to stay still, and how to focus. If you can apply that with your entire life, you win. Period. And no matter what it is, you succeed and you're efficient. You execute. The only difference between a genius, and if you quote this, you better quote my name because this is my quote, okay? It's in my book. The only difference, and this was from my spiritual team and a meditation, so the only difference between a genius and an insane person is execution. A person that has all the philosophies in the world, has all this information and all of these things going on, and they can see everything. They can see how it works out and what amazing can come to be. But without execution, they just sound crazy. It's only genius when you execute and you have something to show for your grand mind and the ability to focus it at a high level of imagination and creativity. So that's it, you guys. Peace and love. We'll talk again soon. Practice the restraint of the modifications of your mind. Meditate, sit still, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. So start at 30 seconds, start at a minute, wherever you need to, and then grow and develop. And what you'll notice is how many things don't get to you, don't move you that I used to.